What we're dealing with now is our confrontation with the core wounding of humanity. That's deep territory, right? The core wounding of humanity. Do you know what it is? Guess in the comments below before I tell you what it is. The current energy talks about inclusion, unity, consciousness, but above all else, about resolving the ego, dissolving the ego into your own soul. That's a process of alchemical transformation, and it's part of our ascension journey. Now, as we move forward, we're going to realize a very stark truth, and that is we don't get to go beyond where we are right now emotionally. We don't get to go beyond where we are right now vibrationally. We don't get to further our spiritual growth unless we're able to bring in our higher level of support. That higher level of support is your own soul. It's your own divinity. And it exists in the air around you. Because as you know, this space in the air around you, this is your multidimensional field. We talk about the fact that we're multidimensional, and I often share information about that, but it's literally up against your skin, yet inaccessible. We can't feel it. Why can't we feel the stuff that touches us? Why can't we feel the energy of our truth? That's what your soul is. Your soul is your higher truth. It's the part of you that is infinite, eternal, and wise. The answers that you want, the love that you need, the inclusion, the union, the safety, the security, the everything right here, but not being able to tune in. You see, when we came into the false matrix, we gained a master, a new master called the ego. The ego is the false self, designed to navigate the false matrix, which is, of course, where we've been living. And when the ego became the god of the self, or the driver of the self, it became the core identity, the primary identity. At that point, the soul became relegated to the shadows. The soul became inaccessible to us because we had a part of ourselves now that insisted it had all the answers. Think about how as human beings, we don't like to be wrong. Think about how as human beings, we don't like to be shown up. We don't like to be inadequate. That's the ego's desire to maintain that control. See, what we're dealing with now is our confrontation with the core wounding of humanity. That's deep territory, right? The core wounding of humanity. Do you know what it is? Guess in the comments below before I tell you what it is. I'm going to take a little while to get there, so type your answer. What do you think the core wounding of humanity is? Let's see how many of you get it. The core wounding, it's separation, but it's a specific type of separation. Okay? I'll tell you what that type of separation is on the other side of the picture that I'm going to paint for you that shows you the symptoms of the separation. So the symptoms, in other words, this is how that separation reflects back to you, can show up in a couple of ways. One of the ways it's going to show up in is it's going to feel to you as if you're separate from life. It can feel to you like life is happening out there somewhere and you're separate from it. It's kind of hazy and you feel like it's just not something real. Now that's true. We know that the external world is illusory. However, your job, your role in that illusion is to become what is real. It's to hold a sense of non-attachment for that external reality. That's all very healthy, very normal. What I'm talking about is not that. What I'm talking about is the sense of life not being something that you can interact with, because you are here to interact with life. You are here to direct life. You're here to recognize it's an illusion and therefore to create within the illusion. Kind of like looking at it and realizing this is the clay of the potter and I'm the potter that must mold the clay. But when you say, I can only watch the clay be molded, I can't mold it myself because I can't touch anything there because I'm separate from it. But it can show up in a more painful way, which is to feel separate, distant, or even alone inside of your romantic relationship, your friendships. In other words, when you're around people, to feel lonely in the presence of others is a deep, pervasive loneliness. And a lot of people experience that. A lot of people experience such a separation from the ones that they love. I remember one of the loneliest times in my life was somewhere in my 20s, where I dated this man for a very, very long time. And guess what? I was too afraid to leave the relationship because I thought to myself, if this is how alone I feel inside the relationship, outside the relationship's going to be hell. Little did I know that I was lonelier on the inside of the relationship and fuller on the outside, because that's where I regained my sense of self. But to feel separate from the people that you are in love with or in connection with, or even in the same time and space with, to feel that sense of separation, it's a very painful experience. There's another way in which we can see this reflection of that one core wounding, and that is to feel like you're always longing for love, always on the outside of love, separate from love in some way. Kind of like saying, I always feel abandoned, I always feel rejected, I always feel a sense of not belonging, I always feel like the outcast, I always feel like even when I am loved, I'm not seen truly, deeply, fully. I'm not loved for the me that I am. I'm loved for who people want me to be. And of course, another way in which this shows up is to feel a sense of separation from your own divinity, where you can be aware that your soul is in the air around you. You can be aware that your multidimensional field is right here, where your skin touches the external world. Your skin is touching your energy field that you have lost access to. We spoke about that in the beginning. But that realization that you're separate to your soul, to your divinity, is a part of the great core wounding that we all share. And here it is. The great core wounding is the pain of separation from God. But that pain is so deep that we don't walk around. We can't register it. We can't, for most people, we can't even articulate the words. So we don't walk around going, I feel so separate from God. Oh, my pain of separation from God is so tragic. Why did God kick me out of the nest? And why did God abandon me here in the false matrix and leave me to the wolves? We don't walk around saying those things because we can't connect so deeply to such a deep wound. We can connect with the reflections of that wound, the always looking for love, etc. In my online community, our theme for the month of October 2023 is trust falling into your divinity. Could you do that? Could you feel, even just in your imagination, what would it feel like for you to just be held? Like if you could lean back into your divinity, the part of you that is ancient, eternal, wise, all-loving, and all-knowing. What would it feel like to lean into that and be held by that? Well, here's something amazing. As beautiful as that thought is, and I don't think there's really a person alive that's going to go, nah, that doesn't sound enticing. Support, nah, not really for me. We do this at such a deep subconscious level wherein the ego steps forward. And the ego is such a trickster. The ego wants to maintain control. It wants to maintain a sense of itself as the authority, as the primary identity. So it's going to keep playing its same tricks over and over again, which is why so many people say, I keep repeating the same pattern, because the ego is on auto replay. But right now, we get to go no further until the process of letting the support in has begun. We don't have to master it. We don't have to perfect it. We have to begin it now. And it's an ongoing organic process of growth and reunion with our divinity. But that's what you're here to do. So that shift that we're here for, we always talk about ascension as a shift from the third dimensional to the fifth dimensional body, but this is what it's about. It's about the reunion with your divinity. And this, and I think it's so exciting, is the challenge. It's a big challenge, by the way, that we get to face right now. Did I just say being supported is the challenge? Yeah. Do you know that a lot of people who really desperately want support can't let it in? There's a blockage. There's a blockage between them and that support. It's kind of like they know it's there, but they can't access it. So just yesterday, I worked with this woman who so wanted to experience her soul, so wanted to experience ease, so wanted to experience abundance and all the things that she knew her soul held. But she couldn't do it. And when we broke it down, what we found was that she was micromanaging her own healing. The ego will do that, by the way. And the ego, you know this, right? I hope you do. The ego doesn't make you bad. The ego doesn't make you wrong. It means you've been very successful at living in the false matrix. Congratulations, well done. You did a superb job. Now it's time to return to the truth of who you are. That's all that this is. So when I describe to you this woman's inability to drop into surrender, to step out of the control of her own healing, to allow her soul. I'm not saying to you she was bad and she was doing it wrong. I'm saying to you, this is where humanity is. This is exactly the conundrum that we face, where we have now access to a level of healing we didn't have access to before, but we have a blockage between ourselves and that divinity, and the blockage is called the ego, the false self that only wants preservation of self. The desire for home. A lot of people haven't entertained the desire for home, meaning the desire for reunion with God. That's what home is. It's not a place. It's a state of being wherein we experience our wholeness. But entertain that now. As in, a beautiful breath into your being, and then with joy and excitement and awe, reaching out from within you into a world that still exists. Even if you're disconnected from it, you're not outside of it. You simply can't recognize, you simply can't be cognizant of the fact that you still exist in the God world, meaning in the true divine creation templates. That's God's original creation. You're still a part of that, even if you can't feel it, even if you can't access it. Because there's a feeling that we get when we long for home, and then we go, wait, whoa, why am I in longing when a part of me is still there? And then just sink into, oh, that feels good. Sink into and relax into, there is a part of me that's still there, and that feels damn fine. I'll have a little bit more of that, thank you. That's the entertain. It's the engage with the fullness of that home state. Because that's really what you want right now. You want that contrast between the ego. That's why the second tool I gave you was just acknowledge the ego. Because you want to build the contrast between this is when the ego is running, and this is when my divinity is stepping in. You want to feel the difference in the presence of those two. Ultimately, it's not one being better than the other. It is one being a higher frequency than the other, a higher truth than the other. And through it being a higher truth and a higher resonance, it dissolves the lower frequencies. I've always said this, light does the work for you, but your job is to let the light in. As we heal a deep core wound that has existed in humanity for eons of time, I thank you for your service, because in you undertaking this path now, you serve as a beacon for others of what they will do next. Lots of love, everyone, from my heart all the way into yours.